Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and I'm sure you've noticed that this week we're doing a label week. We are doing Mondo Macabro, and big surprise, I'm doing another Italian movie. This is my fourth week in a row doing an Italian movie, and big surprise, I'm doing an occult horror film from the 1970s. Yep, the movie that I'm reviewing today is called Queens of Evil. And I do find this movie enjoyable. I would say, uh, it may. I think in terms of some of the occult films from the late '60s and '70s I've watched, this one is one of the more interesting ones. Um, it's not. I wouldn't say it's one of the more like graphic or hardcore ones. Um, it's a little bit. This is a movie that takes its time. So you got to be interested in a movie that's slow paced, and you got to kind of stick with it because this movie is building to something. You know, it's definitely not the most violent, it's definitely not the most gory, but it does have an interesting premise to it. And they're right. It's like weird, dreamlike, sexy, ominous, a gothic fairy tale for adults. And the movie, you start watching this movie, and when you kind of start to see where it's going, yeah, you definitely do see it definitely has a fairy tale vibe to it. And it also kind of really goes along the same. It makes you think of movies kind of like Rosemary's Baby. That's one of the biggest ones that pops out in my mind. Well, anyway, let's get into the story. We're introduced to David, played by, is it Roy or Ray? Oh, let's see here. It's Ray Lovelock. I'm sorry, Ray Lovelock. Sorry. Ray Lovelock, you will probably remember him if you're a horror movie fan. The movie you're mostly going to remember him from is Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, aka Living Dead in the Manchester Morgue. Now, Ray Lovelock plays David. He's a young hippie, and he's doing kind of like the easy rider thing. He's just out and about. He's traveling across. Well, not I wouldn't say America because obviously this is Italian, but I'm not sure if the story really takes place in supposed to take place in America. I don't know, but anyway, he's out. He's just riding around on his motorcycle. Being a hippie, being just free love, all that kind of stuff. He has his ideals and everything else. But David is a really nice guy. He's very easygoing. Everything else. So he's out riding and riding his motorcycle. Then it comes to night, and he comes across this very handsome, well-dressed businessman who's standing by a Rolls Royce. So David stops and he's like, hey, is everything okay? Do you need any help or anything like that? And so the businessman tells him, well, yeah, my car had a flat tire. Is there any way you can help me out? And so David's like, well, sure. You got a spare and you got a jack and everything. He's like, I'll change your tire for you. So, he's changing the man's tire, and the man's, like talking to him and stuff like that. But unbeknownst to David, while he's talking to him, he kind of saunters over to David's motorcycle, takes a long nail, and he pokes a hole into his tire. So he gets done, and everything, and he's like, okay, everything's good. Okay, thank you. So businessman gets in his car, drives off, and everything. And so David sees that he stuck the nail in his tire. And I don't know if they don't really show it. I don't know if David had some kind of like like a patch kit to fix a flat on his tire or whatever. He just pulls the nail out and he's like, oh, damn it. And then he goes and he's like on the motorcycle, he's driving it. And he sees the old man. He sees the businessman in his car up ahead. So he goes and he pulls up beside him, he's like trying to like wave him down. He's like, hey man, what the hell did you put this big old, what'd you put this big old nail in my tire for and everything else? What'd you do that for? And all this kind of stuff. And the businessman, veers his car off the road, hits into a tree, and basically he dies. Car doesn't blow up, but he dies from the impact. So David goes and he checks on the guy and checks and sees that he's dead, and everything. And at first he's like trying to flag down help. Nobody wants to stop for him. And so he figures, well, it's not much I can do. So he gets on his motorcycle and he starts riding. And he comes, he comes up, he sees, a couple of cops up ahead. And you're thinking like, okay, well, is he going to go ahead and go with these cops and say, hey, man, this guy, in this car, he died down the road and everything else. Turns out David, sorry. Turns out David doesn't want to do that. I guess because he figured, hey, I'm a hippie, 1970s, this is, post-Manson family and all this kind of stuff. Maybe he figures, if I go to these cops and try to tell them, this guy had a heart attack, or they're going to think I had something to do with it and put me in jail for it. So he sees that there's, a street sign or a road sign, saying that there's this villa. And so, he decides he's going to go down the road and everything else. And he comes upon this, this pretty cottage with like a barn, kind of a barn/shed thing. So he's tired, so he decides, he goes sleep there for the night and everything. So he goes in, brings a blanket with him, goes in, lays down, goes to bed. And when he wakes up in the morning, he's introduced to this woman, Liv, who is kind of like this one here with the curly hair, kind of the afro type thing. And a very beautiful woman. She appears, she's very stunning looking, very gorgeous and everything. And so, he explains the situation that, he got tired. He saw, didn't think it would be a problem. He'll leave and all this kind of stuff. He doesn't want to cause a problem or anything. He just needs a place to crash for the night. So he gets ready, he gets on his motorcycle. He's ready to leave. But then we find out there are two other gorgeous women, living in this cottage. There's Bibi, I think her name is, Bibiana, and Samantha. And so, they talk to him. They're like, hey, you don't have to be in such a hurry. You hungry? Why don't you come in? We'll have some food. And, he's like, hell, free breakfast with three gorgeous women? Yeah, I'll take that action. So he goes in and, he, eats with them and everything. And then they relax and all this. And, they persuade him to, go ahead and stay for a while. And, if he wants to rest up. And, they got like a lake. They can go swimming. There's fun things for him to do and all this kind of stuff. And so he's staying. He's having a good time and everything. And, he's telling them about his ideals, about being a hippie, free love and all this. At one point he says, I don't want to be faithful to one woman, because if I'm faithful to one, that means I'm unfaithful to all women. That's an interesting take. But, and so he's there with these women, and, little bit by little bit, he's able to seduce them. And, well, not so much he seduces them, they start seducing him. And when you're watching this movie, you definitely get the feeling of like, it almost has like a Three Bears kind of a feeling, where he's Goldilocks and the three women are kind of like the Three Bears. But what was the other one I was thinking about? There is a little bit of a Hansel and Gretel kind of a thing too, because they're trying to keep him there. They don't want him to leave. They're giving him, they're giving him all this stuff. They're giving him really good rich food to eat. They're one by one they start having sex with him and all this kind of stuff. So he's pretty well happy. You think about what man wouldn't have been. But he starts to notice there are some things that are going kind of south with this situation. The women are acting strangely. He at one point, he goes in to have dinner with them, and one of the women makes a joke. Well, not so much a joke, but she's like, don't you want to stay here? It's like, we know you and Samantha had sex. We're cool with it. There's no jealousy and all this. And so he's kind of upset. He's kind of, taken aback by the whole thing. So he starts to walk out, but then he turns around. He goes back into the kitchen where they were at, and he sees, the entire place is just completely empty. There's nothing there. It's like nobody lived there. And it's like, he's just, what the hell? And he's like looking around. He's looking at the cabinets. There's nothing in them. All this stuff. And he goes out searching for the women. He sees them doing this something of like a ritual in the woods. And so, they're like, hey, you could stay and all this kind of stuff. And he's starting to get scared of them. And he started, okay, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on here. I'm not digging it and everything. So they're like, hey, it's no big deal and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you just imagined it. They take him back like into the kitchen and stuff, and they open the cabinets. Now the food, the dishes and everything, they're back where they once were. and stuff. So he's starting to kind of get like a little weirded out here, but but he is like he's very naive, he's very gullible, and he's kind of going along, just kind of going along with anything, I mean, he's a little too easygoing. And then at one point he decides he wants to leave, and then they're like, okay, well, no, we're gonna have a party. It's gonna be kind of like a coming of age party for Liv, and we want you to be there and all this kind of stuff. And then so so they're taking him to this party, and you kind of realize that what it is the people the people at this party. They're I'm trying not to give away too much, but essentially the whole idea is that the people at this party and the three women are basically a coven of witches, and that they are working in with the devil, and the devil is getting mad because people are not sinning as much as he wants them to. They're not giving up on their ideals as much as he wants them to, and so he's like wanting them to make people be depressed and make people do horrible things and make people, sin more and all this kind of stuff, because, he's the devil. He wants souls and things like this. And so now David has to either decide whether he's, is he going to stay with these women and become their next victim, or is he going to, like try to, defeat them in some way or get away with his life or anything like that. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. Overall, it is an enjoyable film. It is a slow-paced film, and like I said, if you're going to watch this, you got to kind of stick with it, because there are moments the movie's going to seem like it's going to lag, but it is building up to something, and it's kind of like you got to kind of have to sit back and allow yourself to be taken on the journey if you want to go there. But it's a beautiful film. It's beautifully photographed. Good score. Everything else, good performances. Ray Lovelock is really good in this. The women are very good in this. They can go from like 0 to 60 in like a second. Like 1 minute they're just, sweet and sexy and seductive and just, like just make you fall in love with them. And then the next second, it's like they're just full blown, ready to rip your head off kind of a thing. But, and yeah, I think this is a movie that, if you listen to the commentary, you have a commentary on here by, where is that? Kat Ellinger and Sam Deegan. And they talk about, this is a movie that, very few people know about. A lot of people haven't really heard of it. And it was, they're hoping now that Mondo Macabro's, found this movie and restored it as best they could and put it out, that they're hoping that this movie is going to get more of a following. And yeah, I could kind of understand that. But that's kind of the thing. You got to be into, you really got to be into like the occult horror movies of the 70s to enjoy a movie like this. But, as far as Mondo Macabro, they did a good job. Not a ton of bonus features on here. It's like a brand new 4K transfer from Film Negative, interview with Ray Lovelock, the audio commentary, which I just mentioned, trailer, alternate sequences, English, Italian audio with optional subtitles, and Mondo Macabro previews. So I think they did the absolute best that they could. I'm pretty sure there's just not really a whole lot for them to work with. But the movie looks great. It sounds great. And this is a really good addition. If you are a fan of this movie or you want to check it out for the first time, yeah, Mondo Macabro did a really good job. And I really do like Mondo Macabro as a brand. And, it's like, I do want to try to pick up more and more of their movies. I only got like a handful of them, but I really do want to try to get into collecting a lot more of their films. And, but yeah, Queens of Evil, I would definitely say if you're into, occult horror films from the 70s, and, like I said, if you don't mind a movie that's a bit slow paced, but, it's building up, give this a shot. So that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a like. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Saturday reviewer. We got a great bunch of guys. Everybody's doing really good stuff and good videos, more theme weeks, label weeks, all this kind of stuff. Talking about, the, years of horror, and stuff. I think, I think we were talking about doing 83 here pretty soon. Films from 1983. So yeah, so come back for that. So everybody take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.